Hello, my name is Roman Miller, um, and we filmed the short film Unspoken Horizons. And I'm just going to answer some questions, some general questions about our film. So basically, our product, which was a film, challenges the conventions of a normal Western film because the two main characters of the story, the two male leads, are gay. They're homosexual, and they're in a homosexual relationship with one another that is hidden from the rest of the world. And they kind of express um, how people during the 1800s and the time period of the Wild West in the United States, they would kind of be persecuted for their sexuality. And I think we did a really good job of challenging this convention of normally the cowboy is a considered to be like a very masculine character, um, and typically is heterosexual. And the Western films typically follow kind of like the idea of a like an outlaw cowboy who falls in love with like a damsel in distress. And we kind of challenged this viewpoint by having two, like I said, two homosexual male characters who are in a relationship. Um, well, whether or not it's a relationship that is faithful to one another, because one of our main characters is he's a closeted homosexual, so he's cheating on his wife. Um, and I think we did a really good job of representing social groups and issues. I mean, obviously, during the time period of the 1800s in the Wild West, it's a lot different than it is now, but still nowadays, in many cultures, homosexual people are persecuted for their sexual choice and their partners. And I think if we have more films and genres that typically wouldn't showcase something like this, if we have more people speaking out about it, more media sources that are kind of in the more, I don't want to say masculine, but like in the kind of like bro sphere of like Western films or war films having homosexual characters, because it's a very real thing. It's a very real thing that happened, and it affected many people's lives. And a lot of people lost their lives or were treated unfairly or unjustly because of their sexuality. And when we showcase these kinds of issues, it kind of brings more light to it, and it could possibly help people. Um, who are going through similar struggles, not the same, obviously, because we don't really have cowboys running around anymore, but uh, getting killed by women with axes. But um, there's still people who go through these issues with their sexuality, and when we normalize it and we bring attention to it, then people will be less afraid in their own bodies. Um, so we don't have a specific audience that we had in mind when making this. Obviously, it's a progressive film. The ideas we showcase are pretty progressive. Um, but I wouldn't say that it has to be necessarily just for young people or progressive people. It could really be for anyone of all ages because, like I said, we want to bring awareness to these types of issues. And by keeping the audiences open to everyone, obviously, we're reaching more people who will be able to understand that these people who might be different than yourself aren't that different, and in fact, they're a lot alike. Uh, I think in the story, a lot of times in media, we could see so our one of our main leads replaced with a female lead, and it kind of goes without question. But when we challenge these conventions with two male leads, it's kind of frowned upon. But I think if we produce more media, like I said earlier, if we produce more media with these kinds of kind of challenging these tropes of films, then we get more representation. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't say that we necessarily have one target audience. I think it's open for everyone, because it brings awareness, and it's a funny kind of uh, Western slash drama slash comedy, I guess you could say. Um, and I think we would probably distribute, if we actually were to make a film out of this, we would most likely distribute it through digital distribution. We kind of talked about in class how digital distribution kind of it has its pros and its cons, but I honestly think for a small studio, because we're students at a high school, it would probably make more sense for us to distribute it digitally because we don't have the financials to have a theatrical release, and yeah, it's probably just be easier to post on something like YouTube, like we did, if we were to make a full length film, because more people of our, like I said earlier, we don't have a target audience, but if we did, like progressive young people, they would view it more on social media platforms like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or X, stuff like that. So if we were to distribute it, it'd probably be digitally or through social media. So personally, I did not work in any of the production. I wrote the script, and then I was also one of the male leads in the film, but I had no part truly in editing it. I just suggested input in terms of the sound, um, and kind of like the some of the aspects of the actual filming itself. So like certain angles, but that's kudos to my classmates and my group members who they really tackled that aspect. Not as much me, so I cannot comment on that one. And like I said, we used music, and so that would be other kinds of media sources we used, just to kind of get that tone of a western, typical, like that slow guitar, like the da-na-na. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but that's kind of what we had going on. And uh, uh, actually, our female lead in the story, Kira, she was the one who edited it, and she used CapCut. And we had kind of an issue with our film, like sharing it between each other, because some of us have iOS, like iPhones, and then some of them used Androids. So sharing it between a group chat kind of messed up the quality of the video. So we had to use Instagram, and then we had to use Google Photos. So it kind of, I'm not really that computer savvy. So learning some of these softwares, like watching Kira use CapCut and her editing softwares, kind of made it kind of like eye opening, kind of interesting thing to look at. Um, and like I said earlier, our target audience will probably receive our media product. I would say through social media. That's most likely what I think we would use. And I'm kind of just beating a dead horse here, but we kind of reinforced. Uh, I don't really think we actually reinforced existing stereotypes. I think instead we kind of spun them on their heads. Like I kind of talked about earlier, typically Western films had a macho, masculine, kind of bad boy vibes to the cowboy who is in the film, and like a hero. But I wouldn't say in our story we truly have one real hero. Um, Everyone's kind of at fault in the situation, the little love triangle that we have. So I think that's kind of an interesting aspect that we have, because there's no hero, there's no direct villain. Um, and then, yeah, and then also the fact that we used two homosexual men in the film, two homosexual characters, kind of challenged the ideas of, typically having a male lead and then a female lead who fall in love at the end of the story. There was not that. There was a lot of death. Um, we also, it's kind of unspoken, or not unspoken, but kind of, you'd have to look into it. But the outfit choices themselves kind of contribute to the character's motives. The character I played, he wore a white T-shirt. He was more innocent, and then we had his love was innocent, um, kind of further emphasizing the point that homosexual love is pure, and it's there's nothing wrong with it. And a lot of times it's demonized from certain media sources. And the female lead, the one who ends up killing uh, her husband's lover, is in all black. And I think it's kind of a cool contrast how we have a pure love between two people, and then uh, the person who ultimately causes death of that love is wearing all black, which is kind of interesting. And it's something that we did not intentionally do at first, but we kind of tied it in at the end as a good kind of almost like a subconscious thing we did, because like I said, it wasn't intentional when we made the outfit design. Um, and then lastly, like I said, we used. I mean, I'm not exactly sure where we got our music from, but I do know that we originally, it took us like 3 class periods of just looking through different sound effects for like simple things, just like the hatchet being thrown in the film. Um, just to kind of get the right sound. And we actually had to go back and we had to record some of the, like when I died in the film, we had to record like an oomph sound. And we wanted to go back to the actual location that we filmed at in order to get like the same kind of ambiance of the place we shot the original shot, just for voiceovers and just for words. And yeah, so that's some of the general questions, and I hope you enjoyed our film. Thank you.